So, have you had this moment? You grab your favorite pair of wired headphones, you go to plug them into your brand new phone, and there's nowhere for them to go. It's kind of wild, right? We're talking about one of the great little mysteries of modern tech. How did a plug that was literally everywhere for over 100 years just vanish?
I mean, really think about it. The 3.5 millimeter headphone jack was the one constant. It survived vinyl, it survived cassettes, CDs, the first MP3 players, everything. It was the universal language for audio. Simple, tough, and it just worked. No questions asked. And then, boom, it felt like it happened overnight. First one phone, then another, and now it's basically a relic. So what happened? Why on earth would the entire tech industry decide to get rid of a standard that worked perfectly well for everyone? Well, to figure that out, we have to look past the plastic and metal and get into the signal itself. You see, the real story here, the reason that little port disappeared, all comes down to a fundamental conflict in how we process sound. It's a battle between two completely different philosophies, analog versus digital. This is the heart of the whole thing. Okay, so what's analog audio? The name kind of gives it away. It's an electrical signal that is an analogy for the real sound wave. Imagine a perfect, smooth wave of sound traveling through the air. The analog signal in the wire is basically a perfect electrical copy of that wave. It's continuous, it's smooth, it's a direct representation. Digital audio, on the other hand, is totally different. Instead of making a continuous copy, it's more like a super fast photographer. It takes thousands of little snapshots, or samples, of that sound wave every single second. Then, it turns the information from each one of those snapshots into a code of ones and zeros. And right there, you see the big trade-off. Analog is true to the source, a perfect mirror. But it can get messy. It can pick up static and hiss. You know that sound from old tapes? That's analog degradation. Digital, however, is a perfect copy every single time. Those ones and zeros never change. But, and this is a big but, it's always just an approximation. It's a bunch of tiny steps trying to pretend they're a smooth curve. Okay, so that leads to a pretty important question, right? All the music on your phone is digital. It's just a big file of ones and zeros. So how in the world does that turn back into a smooth analog wave that your headphones can actually play as music? Well, the magic happens inside this little guy, the DAC. That stands for Digital to Analog Converter, and it does exactly what it says it does. You can think of it as a translator. It takes that language of ones and zeros and translates it back into a smooth electrical signal. Every device that plays music has one of these, your phone, your laptop. It's the crucial bridge between the digital world and the world of sound we can actually hear. So with the old analog jack gone, we obviously needed new ways to listen. And that's where the two new champions of audio stepped into the ring, USB-C and, of course, Bluetooth. Now, with USB-C, things get interesting. The music actually leaves your phone as a pure digital signal. So you might be asking, wait, where's the DAC then? Well, they moved it. It's not in the phone anymore. It's either built right into your USB-C headphones, or, you guessed it, it's in that little white dongle. The translation from digital to analog now happens just inches from your ear. Bluetooth is a little more complicated. You can't just send a huge digital file through the air. It's not efficient. So first, your phone has to squish it down, compress it, using something called a codec. Then, that smaller package of data gets beamed wirelessly to your headphones. From there, your headphones have to unsquish it, and then, just like with USB-C, their own internal DAC and amp do the final translation into sound. And here's the most important thing to get about Bluetooth. Not all codecs are created equal. That codec is basically the language that your phone and headphones agree to speak. SBC is the one that everything understands, but it's pretty basic. AAC is what Apple loves, and it's tuned for their gear. For higher quality on Android, you're looking at things like APOX HD, and then there's the top dog, LDAC. The bottom line is, the codec you're using sets the ceiling for your sound quality. So at the end of the day, we've swapped out a simple, universal plug for this much more complex digital system. And what that's really done is spark a huge debate. And it really boils down to one of the oldest conflicts in tech, convenience versus quality. So let's look at the scoreboard. On the game side, the big one is freedom from wires, obviously. Plus, all these cool smart features like noise cancellation became way more common. And hey, in theory, headphone makers can now put amazing DACs in their products, which could mean better sound. But what did we lose? We lost that one plug that worked with everything. We lost listening without ever thinking about a battery. And we introduced new annoyances, like dongles and that audio lag you sometimes get with video. But even with all those trade-offs, the market has absolutely spoken. Just look at the projections. By 2025, wireless is expected to command almost 2/3 of the entire market. It's pretty clear that for the majority of people, the convenience of going wireless won the day. But that victory wasn't exactly a clean sweep. As the experts over at Sound Guys put it, this whole thing is still really controversial. Things are messy. Trying to figure out which dongle works with which phone can be a nightmare. It's created a whole new set of headaches for all of us. But the debate isn't just about sound quality and convenience. For a lot of people, the shift to wireless has raised some very different questions, and it often revolves around a number that really makes you pause: 313%. What's that about? Well, it comes from a 2015 study that found using an in-ear Bluetooth device led to a radiation power density that was over 300% higher than just holding the phone up to your ear. And, as you can imagine, that finding has become a big part of a much larger and, honestly, very complicated conversation. Now, this is where it gets complex. According to the source material we're using for this explainer, organizations like the World Health Organization have looked at the type of radio frequency radiation used by Bluetooth and classified it as a possible human carcinogen. It's really important to note that this is not a statement of proven risk, and the science is heavily debated. But for some, it adds a whole other layer to this convenience versus quality debate. Okay, so where are we headed? The headphone jack is pretty much history, and the digital future is here. But trust me, the way we listen is still evolving, and it's far from over. Let's take a quick peek at what's just around the corner. And the future looks pretty amazing, actually. We're talking about AI that can change your audio based on your surroundings. Your earbuds are about to become full-on health trackers, measuring your heart rate, maybe even your stress levels. And on top of that, there's a huge push for sustainability. Headphones made from recycled materials that are actually designed to be repaired instead of just thrown out. And that brings us right back to the beginning. Getting rid of the headphone jack was this huge pivot, all in the name of a wireless, smarter future. It gave us a ton of convenience, no doubt, but it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In that big rush to cut the cord, did we end up leaving something important behind? Did we lose a little piece of that simple, universal, and unfiltered connection to our music? I'll leave you with that.